Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig, it's 9 o'clock. It's time for another video. And today, I'm going to be talking about the problem with magic reviewers, the problem with online magic review shows. And I actually put myself into that category as well. And I'm going to have a very specific example that I'm going to be addressing that caused me to do this video. In fact, I had another video that was scheduled to go up today, and I'm filming this on Friday morning, very early on, about 6 o'clock in the morning, because I wanted to kind of address this whole thing, because it's kind of an interesting topic, and that's what Magic TV is all about, addressing interesting topics and anything related to magic. So I'll tell you what I'm going to be talking about specifically in a second, but for those of you that have been living under a rock for years, now more than ever, magic review shows have become really popular. Obviously, the very first magic review show, the OG really, was the Wizard Product Review with myself and David Penn. It's now David Penn and Paul Longhurst or Wayne Fox or Sean Hayden, so on and so forth. But the Wizard Product Review was the very first online review show. Now, that was about 15 years ago. And since then, a lot of review shows have come and they've gone. I've seen so many people and so many companies attempt to do review shows, and the problem is it's not an easy thing to do. I see a lot of people starting a review show, and they'll make a big grandiose thing of, I'm going to do a review show and I'm going to do it weekly and it's going to be amazing. And they manage maybe the first month or two, and then they peter off, and then it becomes once a fortnight, then once a month, and then you just never see them again. And the reason is it's bloody hard work doing a review show. It really is hard work. To constantly, every single week, film and edit. I've been doing the Craig and Ryan review show now for probably the best part of 2 years, if not more, and we have never missed a week. All through Christmas, when I've been traveling off to places like Penguin and Magic Live, all through Ryland's BGT journey, we were filming. If you go and look at some of the review shows when he was on BGT, we were actually filming them in the hotel where we were filming BGT. Like, we've never missed a week. And that's a very hard thing to do, and it takes a lot of commitment to do that. So you see a lot of review shows come, you see a lot of review shows go, and then there's the ones that are around that have now been around forever. Magic Orthodoxy, for example. Steve Faulkner is another example. Michael O'Brien, who doesn't exclusively do reviews, but there are reviews on the channel. Same with Tyler Lunsford, doesn't exclusively do reviews, but there's reviews on the channel. Then you've got Unbiased Magic Reviews. I've got my opinion on him. You might love him, you might hate him, but hey, he's consistent. He brings out a ton of reviews. So you've got all these different review shows, right? And they've all got their pros and they've all got their cons. And one thing I always suggest is that you should go and check out various different people's reviews, because my opinion or Ryland's opinion might differ greatly from somebody else's opinion. I know in the past I've said something's great and someone else has said it isn't. And I've said something's terrible and somebody else has said it's great. Everyone's got their own opinion, that's fine. I do personally think, wherever possible, there's certain things that you should do as a magic reviewer. The first thing I think you should do, absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, is you should attempt to try the trick. The reason that on the Craig and Ryan review show we perform every single trick to each other is because we want to be able to get the trick to a point where we can perform it on camera. And in order to do that, you can't just watch the tutorial and then just make a decision based on the tutorial as to how you rate the product. If you're going to actually perform this thing, you have to take the props out of the box. You have to actually give it a go. And that becomes, you learn a lot more about a product if you're actually trying to perform it, right? That's very, very important. And I think live performances by reviewers is really important as well. Now, in an ideal world, me and Ryland would perform every single trick out in the streets, and we'd go out and but it's just very difficult to do that because you've got to get, there's only certain places you can film, you've got to get camera crews. It's why we put out the, about once a month we do a review show revisited, where we'll go to a gig and we'll take footage at a gig and we'll do it that way, because it's not possible to do live performances for every single product, but it's why we always perform to each other. And it's why on the review show specials, unless I've managed to get live performance footage from the actual artist, I'll perform the trick that's being reviewed on the review show special as well. Normally to somebody in the office like Matt or Michael or Mark or Jack or somebody like that. And the reason is, again, I want to be able to get to a point where I can confidently perform it in front of people. If I've managed to get live performance footage from the person who's created it, I'll include that because I think that's probably a better thing to include, but I'll still get it to a position where I can perform it and it'll come out as a Magic Live maybe a week or two later. The reason I say that is there's a lot of review shows that don't do that. You don't see live performances. As much as I love Magic Orthodoxy, and before the hate comments appear down below, I do love Magic Orthodoxy. I watch all of his videos. He's probably my favorite review show, even more so than Steve Faulkner. I think it's amazing, but I do think it would be better if he actually did live performances. I think that would add an extra element. Having said that, Steve Faulkner is also amazing. He's one of my favorite review shows. I'm getting distracted. The point is, I think that you should have live performances. There's other things that as a Magic reviewer, I think it's very important to do. And the other thing is you have to understand you have to understand about Magic. You have to I'm not necessarily saying you have to be a full-time professional performer, because that would be very egotistical and elitist of me. But I do think that you have to understand Magic. I think that you do have to, if you're going to give an opinion on a product, I think that you have to have a certain amount of magical knowledge. And that's what Steve Faulkner, Michael O'Brien, Magic Orthodoxy, all of those guys have that, and Unbiased Magic Reviews as well. So you have to have a certain level of knowledge. I think that's really important, because being a Magic reviewer, there's a big responsibility behind being a Magic reviewer, because people will listen to what you say and they will make their purchasing decisions based on what you say. They will. How many times have you seen a review, not necessarily one of my reviews, maybe somebody else's reviews. How many times have you seen a review and the review goes out and it's, oh, I'm so glad I've seen this review. I was going to buy it, but now I'm not. Thank you for telling me the truth. And I've seen that quite a few times. And it's powerful. You have to, there is a certain level of responsibility there. You could effectively kill a product. So if you're going to say something's not very good, you have to be 100% sure why it's not very good, which is why when I am negative about a product, and I am negative about products from time to time, as you know, but when I'm negative about a product, I'm going to tell you specifically why that product is not good. Because just like, okay, I'll give you an example. I didn't like Triple Helix a couple of years ago by Snake. I just didn't like it. I didn't just say I didn't like it. I gave the reasons why I didn't like it. And a lot of people thought it was because I didn't feel like it could be performed in the real world. That wasn't it. It was because as a product, it had a lot of limitations, which is fine. But the issue with the trick is it was like a 10-minute tutorial. So they didn't cover what needed to be known in order to make it work. And, they needed to talk about audience management. They needed to talk about angles. They needed to be talking about all of this stuff. And none of it was addressed. They needed to be talking about blocking. And then there was live performance footage of doing it at a gig, completely surrounded. And it's like, well, that's just not true. That just can't be done. It's just not possible. So I like to try and back it up. I'm not a big fan of Peter Egging's latest outputs. I gave a good review to Portal, I think, a little while ago, but a lot of the stuff he's brought out recently isn't very good. I talk about why I don't think it's very good. I talk about why there's problems in this product. And if there's something that I perceive to be better, or if I feel like it's a rehash of something else, I'll bring that up. NPAD, I smashed it to bits. But I also very specifically said why it's not very good. I think that if you're a Magic reviewer and you're going to trash a product, you have to be 100% sure that you are correct with that. And I've gone back and forth on reviews in the past, and I'm like, hang on a minute, and I've actually gone out, but every trick, every single one, even the ones on the Craig and Ryan review show, every single one of them, I go and perform to people. Now, those people might be the people in my office, and it might be that sometimes those performances don't reach camera, because a lot of the time, the Craig and Ryan review show, we're performing to each other. I'll still perform it. I want to know how this feels like. I want to know whether it's right or whether it's wrong. The reason I'm bringing all of this up, and I'm getting to the point now, the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because The Fall by Noah Qualter has recently come out. And it's on pre-order at the moment, and there's been a couple of reviews that have gone out. Steve did an amazing review, go check it out. And then there's another guy that reviewed the product as well. And I wasn't aware of his review until I was on Facebook and I was looking at something that Alakazam did. Harry Nardi did a little video where he was, I say a little video, it was amazing. He did The Fall in the shop to Andy Smith, I think it was. And it looked amazing. And this is, by the way, not a review of The Fall. That's coming on Sunday. What am I talking about? Yeah, so he did the Fall, and but people were saying, "Oh, amazing performance!" And then somebody linked to a review of a guy that I haven't seen, some reviewer that's I'd never even heard of, which is strange because I spend a long time on YouTube being a YouTuber. I've kind of accepted the fact that I'm a YouTuber now, and I've never heard of this guy. And the title was very controversial. It was like The Fall, Noah Qualter, warning, do not buy this, or watch this first before purchase. I can't remember, something like that. And I was like, okay, that seems weird. Because at that point, I performed The Fall at gigs. This is something that I've performed at gigs. In fact, in a couple of weeks, I'm doing a review show revisited on The Fall. So, you know. And I thought, that's weird, but I went away because I had stuff to do and I saved it to look at later. And then I saw a review by Harry Nardi on their YouTube channel, on Alakazam's YouTube channel. I'm like, Harry never reviews products. Alakazam, as far as I'm aware, have never reviewed a product at all. And Harry, I know Harry really well. Harry was pissed, man. You could tell that Harry was really annoyed in that video. It was only 5 minutes long, but Harry was pissed. He's normally really chill. He was pissed off about this review. And he talked about how this review was basically bullshit. And I was like, man, I've got to watch this review. And I went back to watch this review from a position of somebody who has The Fall by Noah Qualter. And I watched it, and I was just there watching it going, what? Like, the review was just full of inaccuracies, inconsistencies, and it was one of the most biased things that I've ever seen in my entire life. He was making point after point after point that just made no sense whatsoever. And he was trashing The Fall. Now, to be clear, I have performed The Fall several times. I got The Fall at Blackpool 2022. Noel gave me The Fall. So I had it a year ago. And to be honest, it sat on my shelf for a few months because busy. But then I took it out and I was like, oh my God, I had one of those moments. Why have I not done this before? This was sitting on my shelf. Craig, you're an absolute idiot. And I was like, damn, this is amazing. And I have, as I say, I've performed it now quite a few times in walk-around situations and on stage. Very important point. And it kills, man. It kills. It's so super practical. And I'm going to do a review on this later on, so I'm not going to get into the review of it now. I'm going to do a review on Sunday. But I was watching this from the point of view of somebody who's got The Fall. And I was like, this is just rubbish. And I remember looking at it and I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I had something to do and I went back to it again. And I've watched this review like 3 times. Look, here's the thing, because I'm gonna go through this guy's review. Here's the thing. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Everyone. You want to trash one of my products, go right ahead. You are more than welcome to do so. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. However, if you are going to give your own opinion on a product and you are a magic reviewer and therefore you are in a position of authority where you can make or break your product, you better damn fucking well make sure that you are 100% correct about that product and you are not talking bullshit. You better make sure of that. Like, leave a bad review, but back it the fuck up. And for some reason, now to be clear, I know Noah Qualter, but I wouldn't consider us close friends by any stretch of the imagination. I think probably I've watched his career. We're friendly. Like, I sat down with him at the session for an hour. But it's not like I've ever, like, rung him up and gone, hey, Noel, fancy going down the pub for a pint? Or I've ever met up with him socially outside of a magic convention. Me and Noel don't know each other. We're not ringing each other up and I'm nipping around his house. That doesn't happen. I don't know. I'm not doing this video because I'm Noel's best friend in the world and I feel like he's been besmirched. I'm doing this video for the same reason that I did the video about Luke Dancy on the Quantum Deck. I did the video on Luke Dancy about the Quantum Deck because it's fine if he didn't like the Quantum Deck. The fact is, Luke was talking out of his fucking arse and he was making points that were just factually inaccurate. And I'm like, look, dude, if you don't like the trick, okay, fine, just say you don't like the trick. But you're using your platform here on All About Magic to what I felt was at the time, and I still feel that, was basically a way to get back into Murphy's, because he did work at Murphy's. Now he didn't. And I felt like he was trying to get back at Murphy's by trashing their latest product and throwing me under the bus and going, me and Craig are buddies. No, Luke. No, we're not. Never have been. Never will be. Even though I love you. So that's why I did the Luke Dancy thing. And I'm doing this for the same reason, because I think that as magic reviewers, we should hold ourselves up to higher standards. And we should be able to back up everything that we say. Now, I genuinely don't believe that the guy that's making this review, I can't understand. Right, there's two things here as far as I'm concerned. One, either he's got an issue with Noel because a lot of the stuff he's saying is factually inaccurate, or he's just completely and totally fucking incompetent. Now, I don't think he is incompetent, because he says, I haven't really done much research. I found him on Instagram, haven't really done much research. But he says he's been a working pro since 2010 or something like that. For the last 10 or 15 years, he's been a working pro. So if that's the case, he should know that a lot of what he's saying is rubbish. So I don't understand. But I do feel like I've seen so many comments now, both on the cafe, on social media, on Facebook, with links to this review going, oh, I'm not going to buy this. It's finally somebody's told the truth. Well, here's the thing, just because somebody's put a negative review out doesn't mean it's the truth. Just because somebody puts a positive review out doesn't mean it's the truth. So I'm going to I'm doing a review of the Fall on Sunday. I'm just going to go through some of the points this guy made and just talk about why they're just full of fucking fantasy, to be perfectly honest. Now, I know that there's going to be people watching this who aren't the biggest fan of Craig, and they're going to put in the comments, oh, Craig is hypocritical because he's having to go at someone that leaves a negative review. He leaves negative reviews all the time, blah, 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 bullshit. If that's what you think, then you don't fucking get what this video is all about. And if that's what you think, and you're going to type a little message into the little comments, I invite you to take your keyboard, turn it sideways, polish it up so it's nice and shiny, and then shove it up your fucking ass, because I don't need trolls comments. If you want to leave it, by all means. But I absolutely know 100% that people are going to go down that route. And you know what? I debated about whether doing this video, but I'm doing it because it pissed me off. Anyway, let's get on to it. I've made notes. Right, okay, so he's reviewing the Fall, and he's made there's nothing positive in this review at all. Now, there's nothing positive. Absolutely nothing positive. Like, even when I've been negative about a product, I've tried to find positives about it, and I talk about the pros and the cons. There's nothing positive. He openly says at the beginning that it's a complete and total waste of money, and it's one of the worst things ever done. He doesn't say a positive thing about it at all. I've made some of the points. I've tried to dissect some of the things that he said about it that isn't true. Just factually completely inaccurate, or statements that just don't make any sense, just so I can kind of rebuttal it on Noel's behalf, because Noel's a nice guy and I know he's not going to do this. So number one, the first point he makes is he does this thing where Noel says that the gimmicks are handmade. That's what he said. He says, Noel says the gimmicks are handmade. And then he says, they're not handmade. It's not like they're precision made or anything like that. I could make them myself if I wanted to. Hang on. Fucking what? I mean, seriously, what? That's the whole fucking point of handmade. If you can make them yourself, unless you're going to do it with your fucking feet, then you're hand making the gimmicks. Noel is not saying that the gimmicks are precision made. Noel's not saying that he's got an army of elves in his basement that are spending hours making the gimmicks. He says that they're handmade, and they are. He makes each one of them by hand. That's the whole definition of handmade. And you turning around and going, Noel says they're handmade, I can make them myself. Then you would be making them by fucking hand. Like, it's just that statement. That's just like, right there. It's like, okay, this guy's going to be biased about this, isn't he? Because he's taking a pathetic little point and he's twisting it right at the very beginning. Of course they're handmade. Regardless of whether you can make them yourself or not, that's the definition of handmade. Good grief. And then his big point, which he labours over and over and over and over and over and over, is the trick can't be performed to short people on stage or tables. And the reason is, without getting into a review of this, when you're doing the fall, you're holding a see-through bag at around about waist level. So it's about, depending on the size of the people that you're performing it to, let's say it's your average size man, it's about 3 foot up, 3.5 foot up. And you can have them hold it lower and stuff like that. Now, and he makes a point that this trick is terrible. One of his big reasons as to why this trick is terrible is because that means it can't be performed in a lot of different scenarios. Because it's like this, you can't perform it to short people. Which, again, it's a point I don't understand, because the whole thing has been advertised as a walk-around version of the card-through window. Now, it's less of the card-through window. I understand why it's been marketed as a card-through window, but for me, it's more like a playing card version of Double Deception by Mark Mason, you know, where the flipper coin and the coin goes through the handkerchief, but with a see-through handkerchief. That's what it's kind of more akin to me. And the same angle restrictions with Double Deception also are true with this, because I've done Double Deception walk around for years. And so you get them to hold the handkerchief, you put the two coins on top, and there's something underneath that if somebody was underneath the handkerchief, they'd see it. Double Deception is considered one of the best coin tricks of all time, and I've seen it performed on TV. I've seen it performed at live gigs. Nobody goes, well, hang on a minute, Double Deception isn't very good because it can only be performed walk around. You couldn't perform it at a table. No. First of all, the short thing is ridiculous because you can adapt, and what I mean by that is you can tell people, do me a favour, just go down a little bit, go down slightly, perfect, if that's an issue for you, and you control the environment in which you perform. And watching this guy's social media, I saw him do a version of Spooked by Nick Einhorn on an Instagram reel, where he's doing the haunted deck on the floor, and he's putting the deck on the floor, and he's coming back and he's doing what looks like Spooked, but there's a few different versions of it. It could be The Haunting by Peter Eggink or Haunted 2 by Travisoni. It doesn't really matter. The point is, he's doing this thing where he's putting the deck on the floor. Obviously, that's good enough to this guy to actually, you know, it's good enough basically for this guy to do and put on Instagram, even though, look at the performing conditions. You have to put the deck on the floor, don't you? You have to put the deck on the floor. You have to get everyone to stand back in order to make this work. Different tricks have different performing conditions. Noel openly says that this is designed for walk-around situations, and it is. The fact that you say you can't do it to short people, you just bring their hands down. Plus, like, you'd have to be ridiculously short. Maybe a little kid that's maybe Thea is 7, she'd be too high, she'd be able to sit. Maybe if you were 4 or 3 or something, that might be an issue, but to be honest, they probably wouldn't be giving a crap about the magic trick anyway. And no, you probably couldn't do it at tables. But even if you could do it to tables, even if you could come up with a method where you could throw something up in the air and you'd see it drop through, you still wouldn't want to do this at tables, because there's certain tricks that are designed for use at tables and there's certain tricks that are designed to use walk around. And there's certain tricks that are designed to be used on stage. And the fact that this is not a table trick, because it's not, doesn't necessarily mean, but that's the crux of his bad review, that it can't be performed in every environment. But there's a lot of tricks that can't be performed in every environment. And now, if the ad copy was like perform at tables, that'd be a different thing, but it's not. It's a walk around piece, and you see videos of Noel doing it in a walk around situation, so that makes no sense. And as for the comment about not being able to do it on stage, trust me, I'm going to get some footage of me doing it on stage. And trust me, buddy, I've got more experience performing on stage than you will ever have. If I stop performing right now, I've spent more time on stage and will spend more time on stage at this point than you will do by the end of your career. And I'm telling you right now, I can think of about 15 different ways of performing this on stage, including angling the thing slightly. There's a million different ways, but the way I think it would be used, and I could see it being used brilliantly as an illusionist, is having rear projection onto a TV, having two people on stage doing this beautiful penetration, moment of magic, shown to the whole audience, and then boom, you then go into an illusion where you go, thanks very much for my helpers, let's take this to the next level, here we go. And then you do some sort of penetration trick, or, you know, if you've ever seen Danny Hunt perform and he does that thing where he walks through the metal plates, something like that. That would be how I use this. In fact, I could see the fall being used on BGT by an act, and having Ant and Dec come on stage and doing it like that, and having the camera up close, and boom, I could see that being used brilliantly on stage on somewhere like BGT. So it can be done on stage, but the fact that you labour the point over and over again that it can't be performed in different environments is not an issue when they're open about this. Anyway, moving on. Next point. They talk about the hand size. Oh yeah, the hand size is an issue. Oh yeah, I love this one. He says the hand size is an issue, and he talks about you have to hold a card in your hand. Don't palm it, but there is a point where you have to have a card in your hand. And he points out that his hand is almost too small to be able to hide a card. And he says that should have been mentioned on the trailer. Okay, 2 points on this. Number one, you never discuss method on a trailer. You never, ever discuss method on a trailer. You never do the trailer and you go, right, now, let me talk to you about this trick. Now, this trick, you are going to need to palm a coin. And you will also need a Bobo switch. This trick is going to require that doesn't happen, right? You don't talk about method on the trailer. The trailer is designed to hype people up and show people what the trick is. It's not designed to talk about method. But secondly, the fact that you're saying, right, you don't understand the trick if you think that somebody with a smaller hand can't do this. Because if you think about the routine, you're here, you do this and you bring your hand away. Everybody's attention is right there on the card falling through at that moment right there. And they see the card fall through, boom, they see the card fall through, everyone's attention's there. By the time they come back up to you, you're done. You can't see, the move has been accomplished. And I don't want to be as exposy on here as you were on your YouTube channel. But boom, right there, totally not an issue because of the focus of the basic fucking misdirection, man. Basic fucking misdirection. You understand where you're looking. Really, honestly, if you want to, give me a call and I will teach you about misdirection. But to make a statement like that is just asinine at best. And I'm going to prove it to you. Because in the next week, you're going to see a video of Ryland doing this trick to people. And you're going to see him do the move. And trust me, he's got some of the smallest hands you'll ever see. But he can do it because of how you focus the attention. Hell, you could do it like this if you want to and do a pushing gesture like that. There's a million different things if you actually think it through rather than making statements about something that aren't true and then saying, like, oh, the trailer, oh, it should be on the trailer. I mean, honestly, it's at this point that I was like, okay, this guy's pretty biased. He then rips into the reset and talks about how it's a trick that's not for beginners because of the environment and because of the setup. It's like a 5-second setup. The environment and the setup and the reset is a nightmare. He talks about the reset like it's the worst thing in the world. Like you've got to take the trick back to a truck and reset a big grand illusion before doing it again. The reset is like literally 5 seconds. And he talks about how when you're performing in the real world, I haven't got 5 seconds to reset really. Well, I fucking have. Every single time. I don't immediately vanish from one group and immediately go up to another group. I'll take a step back for a second to praise the situation. It's about a 5-second 5-second reset. If it takes you 15 or 20 seconds, like you say, I've reset this many, many times now. If it's taking you more than 5 seconds, you need to have a fucking quiet word with yourself. It's a 5-second reset. Now, it's fine to go, okay, the reset's about 5 seconds. I don't really think that's too much of an issue. It's fine to say that, but to labour the point for 2 minutes about how this is a terrible trick because the reset is terrible, I've seen tricks with twice as long a reset. It's totally not an issue. Yes, promote a trick as having an instant reset as a positive by all means, but let's put this into context. A 5-second reset isn't bad for a trick that's this visual, and to be clear, the creativity behind this is great. It's something completely different to anything else put out there before. The reset's not an issue. Oh yeah, you make the point that you can't do it table to table because the reset is too long. Yes, you can. You just literally walk away. You don't have to go. He goes, you've got to go to the corner of the room and huddle into the corner of the room. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just put the card back on top of the deck. You don't have to fucking do. No, you don't. Shit, man. No, you don't. It's just ridiculous. It's just do this, do this, do this, do this, and you're done. You just openly do it. Nobody's watching you. Just insane. Oh, this was my favourite. He makes the point about the trailer. And he goes, oh yeah, Matthew Wright's in the trailer. I have no idea why Matthew's in the trailer. It makes no sense. And Matthew hypes the trick up unnecessarily. That's what he says. Matthew hypes the trick up unnecessarily and he shouldn't be in the trailer. Right, fucking listen to the fucking trailer. Why don't you open your ears? Right at the beginning of the trailer, Matthew openly says that Noel has hired Matthew Wright to do the trailer for him. Matthew Wright's company in Spain does video production, including making trailers. He's made many, many trailers throughout the years. That is just something that Matthew Wright does. And as somebody who has been hired to do the trailer, of course he's going to be in the fucking trailer. And the whole point of a trailer is to hype a trick up. You don't have the trailer going out going, all right, my name's Craig. This is a quantum deck. Blank deck of cards, deal through, cards at the number, that's it. You fucking hype it up. You hype the trick up. It's fucking loud music. You're seeing visuals of people losing their shit. That is what it is. And by the way, it's a very honest trailer because there's live performance footage, both on the project constantly and also on the trailer, right? Look at ProCaps. I was on the ProCaps trailer. I was hired by Murphy's to be on the ProCaps trailer. Was ProCaps an issue because I was on the trailer? I don't understand why Craig was on the trailer and was hyping the trick up. Yes, because I was paid to do that. Look at Boombox by Andrew Niner. Look at Flip Palm by Seth Race. Both of those aren't my products, but I'm on the trailer and I'm hyping it up because I was hired to do so. Soon you're going to see a trick out called Bitcoin by James Keatley. Guess what? I'm on the trailer because I was asked to do the trailer. That's what happens within the magic business. If you are going to be a magic reviewer, maybe you should clue yourself up about the magic industry and not moan about somebody being on the trailer when they're paid to be on there and they even make that statement at the beginning of the trailer, and to say he's hyping it up unnecessarily. That's what a fucking trailer's for! I don't even know why this pissed me off so much, but it has. And I don't even know this fucker for Adam, but it's pissed me off purely because I get offended by this as a magic reviewer. I really do. And as a creator, the fucking review that you've done could cause damage to Noel, and he doesn't deserve that when he's brought out such a commercial trick. A lot of these points, that's why I wanted to make these points. They're just completely wrong. They're completely wrong. Then you talk about the bad angles and how the angles are bad. No, the angles aren't bad. The angles aren't bad. In a walk-around situation where everybody's looking down, it's fine. The only way the angles are bad are if you're lying on the ground with your head pointing upwards, in which case you couldn't give a shit about the magic trick. If you think that this environment like that is bad angles, then you have no fucking clue. You have no clue. No fucking clue at all about audience management or angles or working in a real gigging situation. You have no fucking clue whatsoever. And then he talks about, I don't want to, he exposes part of the method and he talks about something that's on the hand in order to be able to do this so that you don't have to palm. And he talks about how it's a really bad idea. Which it's not. And he talks about, he's got this moment where the gimmick, which is in your hand, he suggests putting some sellotape on it at one point if you want to keep the gimmick pristine in your pocket, but you don't need to. He just talks about this as an alternate thing. And he's like, oh, you know, he mocks it and he's like, hey, I'm going to go and perform now. Oh, hang on, let me just take my sellotape off, which is just another fucking stupid point. The way that you actually get the gimmick into position is genius because you reach into your pocket, you take the deck of cards out, you take out the cards and you're done. The one concern I had for this trick before I knew how it worked was how you were going to get the gimmick into position. Because that's the other thing. I think any magician that's been around magic for 0.2 seconds understands how this trick works. They're going to get it. And so part of the concern is, okay, how are you going to get into the position to get this done? Noel's come up with a very elegant solution to set this up literally on the fly. And to say that it's not a valid method, it is 100% a valid method. And Noel is, like I say, there's live performance of this over and over again. How can you say this wouldn't work in the real world? Because that's another point that you make. This will never work in the real world. Never. You say it's never. Well, I've performed it in the real world. There's live performance footage of Noel doing it in the real world. It's fine to say something's not going to work in the real world if there's no live performance because they haven't given you proof. But there's fucking proof on the video. What do you think he did? Fake the fucking performances? You can see Steve Faulkner on his review show doing the same thing. It's just ridiculous. He talks about too much pocket space because it takes up a pocket. Yep. I don't even get that. I mean, when I go out and perform, I have a pocket for each individual trick. This pocket is for the chop cup. This pocket is for the quantum deck. This pocket is for this. This pocket is for that. I've done videos on pocket management. That's just a fucking intelligent way to do it. To make a statement going, this trick is bad because it takes up too much pocket space when it takes up one pocket is ridiculous. By the way, at this point, I just want to point out that in your review, when you open up the box to show people what's inside, the fucking bag is still folded up. I've got a feeling that you've never even tried this out. You've just watched the tutorial and you've decided that you're going to shit all over it without even opening up the gimmicks or trying it out. You could see that the putty hadn't really been opened or used. I've got a feeling that this has never been done in the real world. You've never tried this out. You've never even set the gimmicks up. Because if you had, you could have very easily put a performance together. You talk about how you should have been given more silly putty because there's some putty that's used in the trick and you need more of it and there wasn't enough, which is again ridiculous because he gives you enough to have a go at it and then you get, and he made the point about how he didn't tell you what this stuff was so you can't order it. I just did a quick search for black silly putty and about 1,000 hits came up for black tack, which is what it is. Maybe, just maybe, he's crediting his audience with a little bit of intelligence, possibly, maybe. But again, this is a problem that, well, it's not even a problem, but this is a thing that's the same with a million other tricks. You get a little bit to try, and then you have to get your own. That's not an issue. That's not a problem. That's all Noel's done. Again, I don't think you understand the economics of the industry, the magic industry, because if Noel gave you more of this stuff, you might think, oh, it's only going to be pence to supply people with a big chunk of this silly putty. Not that you need it, it's only going to be pence. But when you're talking about 1,000 units, that's going to raise the price of this whole thing massively. Understand the economics of the magic industry. It's sometimes better if it's a thing that you can get hold of easily, getting the person at the end to go and supply that, because it could cost them about 20, 50p a pound, whilst it would probably raise the cost of the product by about £2 or £3 if you had to include it in everybody's product. But again, you don't seem to understand the economics of the magic industry because you've never released a trick and you don't really fucking know what you're talking about. Then one of my favourite points, it takes too long to explain. And he labours the point over and over again. Hello, pots, kettle, black. You're talking about the same thing fucking over and over again. As am I at this point, but whatever. Noel, one of the things I loved the most in the tutorial was the explanation. There's a move that needs to be done. And the guy says that Noel was labouring the point. I love the fact that there were camera angles coming in from the side, from above, from below. He was showing you the move over and over again, because really that's the only move in the whole trick. And it's really important that you get that right. So I actually appreciated that. I don't think he was labouring the point at all. You are coming from a position of being a full-time pro for 10 years, and so you know absolutely fucking everything. But the thing you need to understand, and this is something that Penguin told me once. Penguin said to me that when you are releasing a tutorial video for a trick, you have to put that tutorial video together as if it's somebody's first magic trick that they've ever bought. Because for a big percentage of people, it will be. So you need to make sure that they have all the information that they need in order to be able to perform the trick effectively. And then they're going to come back and buy something else and buy something else. So you don't gloss over stuff like this. So to you, it might have been labouring the point because you are a god of magic and you are the most amazing performer ever and you know everything. But unfortunately, not everybody's like that. There's a bunch of new people coming into magic that have never done this shit before. And that's who this is aimed at, not you, god of magic. It gives away the, what's that? I don't even understand my writing here. Something about this guy. I have no idea. At this point, I was getting more and more annoyed and I was writing like a spider. Oh yeah, he talks about how the trailer is completely dishonest. I don't understand how the trailer is dishonest. Oh, he says the trailer is dishonest because he calls it a card through window, and it's not a card through window. It's more akin to a card through a handkerchief. How is the trailer dishonest? He's showing a bat with the what? He's even at the beginning of the trailer, which is fucking brilliantly done, by the way. You see Noel going, "Hey, it's like a card through window," which is a great way to explain what the trick is. And then Matthew's going and looking at it and going, "Oh, it looks more like a card through handkerchief. Oh, that's really visual." Like, it's so not a dishonest trailer. And you know what, by the way, the card through window is a great hook line for this trick. On a side note, if you're going to do this trick, and I suggest that you do because it's amazing, hey, have you ever seen David Blaine push a card through a window? People still remember that. Well, unfortunately, I can't do that here, but I'm going to try and do the next best thing. We'll say this is going to be the window. That's an amazing hook line for a trick. Absolutely amazing. Oh, and then two other points here, and then it's done. He says, this will probably only work for people that are a little drunk. He says, this won't work in any environment. It'll probably only work at a gig where people are a little bit drunk. And that is just so dismissive of someone's hard work. You know, I'd understand if it was somebody that was releasing product every 15 seconds. But this is Noah Qualter. This is a guy that releases a trick every 3 years. And he works it in before he releases it. Releasing tricks is not his thing. I'm telling you, I remember him telling me he had fucking thousands of these sitting in his house since Blackpool last year, and he had a purchase order from Murphy's, and he couldn't be asked to get them and send them over to Murphy's until now because he's been so busy with gigs. This is a side hustle for him. This is just a bit of fun. He is not a full-time professional creator. He is a full-time professional performer. He is the iPad magician. He is he is one of the top close-up magicians in the UK. He is a fucking legend as far as I'm concerned. And as I say, I'm not biased. I don't know him personally. I'm just a fan of his work. To say that a trick that he's brought out and put his name on is only really appropriate for drunk people is so dismissive. It really is. This could be performed for anybody. I've already thought of ways that you could do this in a kids show, in ways that you could do this in a lot of different environments. That's just simply not true. And then the last point that you make is that the trailer is, the prop is too noisy. Well, guess what? I've done this in a quiet studio environment and I can't hear a thing. Obviously, there's magnets at play here, and you just have to adapt to that. But even just openly doing this, you don't hear anything at all. And the reason you don't hear anything is because there's that noise. You just don't hear anything. Go and watch the video of Andy and Harry doing this at Alakazam in their shop. It's a completely quiet environment. It's not like a noisy gig. He does the trick, the camera's right close up, and you can't hear a thing because there's nothing to hear. There's nothing to hear. Noise is absolutely not an issue. And I think you've been a bit exposy about this as well on your channel, because you've talked about how the gimmicks work, you've shown the gimmicks, you've talked about having magnets in your hand, you've talked about all this different stuff. Honestly, dude, it's bordering on exposure. If somebody watched your review, they would know exactly how this trick was made. They would pretty much know everything because of how exposy you've been. Now, here's the thing. You're new to YouTube. Well, you're not. I had a look at your YouTube channel. You were doing this a few years ago, and you do what most YouTubers do. You took a few years break, and then you've come back, and you've kind of been a little bit inconsistent, and your views have been quite low, and then you've bought this review out on the fall, and this is your best video, and this always happens. I remember when another review show that remained nameless had a pop at my Penguin Live. That was their best performing video, still is. I understand why people do negative reviews. I totally get it. I really, really do. But if you are going to leave a review of a product, then for God's sake, have some integrity and back it up. Most of the points that you made are pure fantasy, just pure fantasy. I went through some of your other reviews, and I was looking at some of the other products that you reviewed, and I was looking at points that you made and reviews on particular tricks, and there were points that you made in the review of the fall, which is contradicted with other reviews you made. I'm not going to point them out. I can't be bothered. This video is too long as it is, but go back and have a look at your other reviews. There's points that you made that are negatives. You made negative points about the fall, and those same points were also aspects of other tricks that you reviewed, and you didn't say anything negative about them. It wasn't an issue, and you waxed lyrical. So, you know, get yourself in order, man. That's what I'm saying. You have, as a magic reviewer, you have a, as a magic reviewer, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to be completely and totally impartial. And I know, I'm a magic reviewer. It's hard, buddy. It's hard. Sometimes it's really difficult because you're sitting there and you're watching trick that's not very good after trick that's not very good, and it just gets really frustrating, right? I totally get it. But you have to be completely impartial, and every single person on the planet is saying this is good other than you. And I wouldn't normally challenge somebody else's review because it's your review, it's your opinion, and this is your opinion. If you don't like it, that's fine. But you made the statement at the end of the video that you made. I would advise everybody not to buy this. Save your money. Don't buy this at all. That's a statement that you're making. That affects Noel. That affects everybody involved in this product. It affects everybody. So if you're going to make a statement like that, and I have made statements like that in the past, if you're going to make a statement like that, you have to 100% believe that every single point that you're going to make is factually accurate. And the bottom line is, you're taking the piss out of the trailer, you're taking the piss out of issues that aren't a problem, you're taking the piss out of handmade. It just comes across as petty, pardon the pun. It comes across as petty. And you know what? YouTube's not easy. It's difficult. It's hard. It's hard to be consistent. And you know what? I'm going to give your channel a sub because I'm sure that it's a good channel. I like following other magic review shows. I really do. But if I were you, I'd have a serious look at the fall and then look back at your review. And honestly ask yourself if everything that you put in that review is 100% factually accurate. And if you have the... Just look at it, dude. Just look at it. And go and try it. You don't have to do it in the real world. Go and try it on some friends. Go and try it on your family. Go and try it on somebody. Actually have a look, because honestly, that visual, when you do that and it goes through, I've done this. It's one of the strongest tricks that you can do. It's an amazing opener. It's an amazing opener. It's one of those tricks that grabs everyone's attention. It's super interactive. It's not a card trick. It's not, well, it is a card trick, but people don't view it as a card trick. It's not like it's a pick a card trick. It's not a coin trick. It's something different. It plays really big, even if it's in a walk around environment. There's no lighting issues. So you can do it outside at a wedding, absolutely fine. And there's so much to love about this trick. I don't think it's fair that you rip into it. And when you have somebody like Harry Nardi making a rebuttal video on Noel's behalf, seriously, have a look at your review, have a look at what you've said, have a look at the product, take it out, and then honestly ask yourself, have you done the right thing in this situation? Because I don't think you have. And this video really that I've made today, it's not about you. It's not about Noel. It's not about the four. It's about magic reviewers in general. And we do have a difficult job because people will look to us for buying decisions. People will look to us to decide whether or not the tricks that we're putting out, or the tricks that we're reviewing are worthy of purchasing or not. And you can kill a product. Whether you like it or not, you can kill a product. So some of the pathetic and petty points that you made, I don't think should have been in the review. And maybe there's a few points that you genuinely believe. And it's fine to not like the trick. But your entire review was discredited because you came across as biased about the trick, because you made so many points that were obviously not issues. Everything else pales in comparison. So next time you make a review, and I hope that you do, as I say, I'm going to subscribe to your channel. Next time you make a review, big piece of advice. It's one I try to follow every single day, and I don't always manage it. But here's your advice. Try to be slightly less of a fucking dickhead. That's all I've got to say about that. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to know your thoughts. Also, if you haven't already done so, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Tell me if you've got the fall or if you haven't got the fall, if you've seen the review or not seen the review. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let's get a dialogue going, and I'm going to be back again tomorrow with a whole bunch more videos, including an interview at 9 o'clock with the legend that is Chris Dugdale. So there's a lot going on. I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.